What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're back with the top 4 round of the recent League Cup that we got to go attend. So the format for this one is Guardians Rising legal, so Primal Clash all the way up to Guardians Rising. And here the game's already got underway. On the left we have Christopher Watkins. He's going to be playing a Drampa Garbodor, and on the right we have Max Potter playing Tapu Koko GX. And just a quick note, Max Potter actually did just concede the game to Chris, since Chris is going for his world invite and Max isn't really worried about championship points, but they still played out the match, so you will see Chris in the finals either way. So just something I want to give you guys a heads up on. But here it looks like Chris is going to be going for an N. Looks like he used Tapu Lewe to get it, and he's having a pretty decent first turn. He has the Drampa GX with a choice band and a double colorless, so he's one attachment and a float stone away from being able to knock out a Tapu Koko GX, assuming he can get some damage on the field as well. So we'll have to see how this one goes. Okay, so he does have the Magma's secret base and the Shaman, so he actually will be able to get some damage on his field, but he might opt to save his hand potentially, just because next turn he can play down a couple of additional cards so he can set up for more. Okay, so Max is going to Kukui to draw 2. He's going to attach a Lightning Energy to his Jolteon EX. He sees that this Drampa is a threat, so he wants to power this guy up. Jolteon has that Flash Ray attack, 70 damage, and your opponent's basic Pokemon can't do damage to Jolteon. So if he can manage to just power up Jolteon and not play many items down, Garbodor actually really won't be able to do that much to it. So definitely seems like maybe a slower route, but definitely a safe route to go as far as trying to lock down the game. But here Chris is going to play his Team Magma secret base. Any Pokemon that players bench while that is out take 2 damage counters if they are not a Team Magma Pokemon. So this is how Chris is going to use Drampa to do a lot of damage, since Drampa GX's attack will do 80 plus 70 more if you have damage on any of your bench Pokemon. So 150 plus the 30 from Choice Band will allow him to knock out a Tapu Koko. So the thing he needs now is going to be a Float Stone to retreat. That's the big thing. That way he can actually take a knockout on this Tapu Koko. So he's just playing an Ultra Ball right now. Going to grab himself a Garbodor. I'm not sure if he has a Float Stone, but here he's going to play N. And potentially I would have I'm not sure if Chris runs the Garbotoxin Garbodor, but maybe if he had that one, I wouldn't mind going for that one either, just because you want a Float Stone on that guy either way. But we'll see what happens here. Especially if Chris can ability lock Max, that will definitely put him in a bad spot, because Tapu Koko, one thing I've noticed when I've been playing with it, is that it really struggles against ability lock. But here he has an escape rope, which is a little problematic, so Max is going to promote this Voltorb, and I actually like that. That will kind of help ensure that we don't see a turn 2 Flash Ray. Okay, so here looks like Chris is thinking about promoting a or Shaman, and here he's going to escape rope again. Okay, so this is going to allow Chris to take a knockout on this Tapu Koko GX. Alrighty, so let's see how Max responds to that. He's going to play his Aether Paradise Conservation Area. That will reduce the damage done to his Grass and Lightning basic Pokemon. And here he's just going to end Chris, putting down 4 cards. So if Max can draw a Electrode, he's actually, I think, in a good spot. He can just wall with Jolteon. Since, like I said previously, Garbodor can't really hit for that much, since he actually doesn't even have any items in the discard pile. Okay, does he... Okay, he is going to Field Blower. Does he have an Ultra Ball? I see a Max Elixir. So he's going to get a Lightning Energy on his Voltorb. He's got Super Odd, getting back that Tapu Koko. So normally you'd maybe want to save your Super Odds once you have some more energy and stuff in the discard, but it looks like Max is really digging hard for a Tapu Koko, because if he can't hit the Tapu Koko, he can actually take a one-hit knockout on this Drampa. Okay, so he actually has Lightning Energy and the Ultra Ball he needs. So he's going to Ultra Ball, looks like. He's thinking about getting rid of Electrode, but it looks like he's opting to get rid of the Ultra Ball. Well, now he's changing his mind. I'm sure he's going to Ultra Ball. He's just probably trying to figure out what he wants to get rid of. So he's going to get rid of the Electrode, and I believe it was his other Ultra Ball. That's going to allow him to grab Tapu Koko here, and he can use that ability Arrow Trail on Tapu Koko. Basically lets him become the active Pokemon and get Lightning Energy off his other Pokemon. And here he can use Tapu Thunder GX. His GX move does 50 times the amount of energy on your opponent's side of the field. And since that Drampa had 2 DCEs, he's hitting for 200, taking a knockout. So even though he's not, doing the Jolteon strategy we just mentioned, this Tapu Koko is going to be able to, put on a lot of pressure. So it's definitely a much more aggressive route to go, but he was unable to set up the Jolteon, so he kind of needed to get this Tapu Koko going instead. But it looks like he's in a fine spot actually, just because Garbodor is only going to be able to hit for, I think it's like 60 damage or something like that. And even less with this Aether Paradise conservation area in play as well. But let's see what Chris is going to opt to do here. He's got Versus Seeker, so he can play, maybe an N, maybe a Hex Maniac, or he can just Sycamore. So it looks like he's going to Ultra Ball first. Okay, so he's going to get rid of those. And here, I'm not sure really what he's going for. Maybe set up another Drampa. Just because it can take one-hit knockouts on Tapu Kokos. Or potentially another Trubbish even. That could be a good play as well. Since, Chris already has, 2 one-prize attackers on the field, so maybe forcing Max into a game where he has to knock out 3 Garbs could be good. But here he's going to go for the Drampa, which I think is fine too, just because it can trade very well with these, these 2 prize attackers that Max has. But here he's going to Sycamore. Okay, looks like he has a Float Stone, Rainbow Energy. I see another Garbodor in hand. Unfortunately, this Garbodor is not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage, but you got to do what you got to do. I don't know if he has a way to bounce this stadium either. That could be problematic as well. But here he's going to do... Okay, he's going to play Rough Seas, healing his Tapu Koko down to 70. Or I'm sorry, from 70 down to 40. And here Tapu Koko is just going to take a knockout with Sky High Claws. It does 130 damage, which is enough to knock out a Garbodor. So Tapu Koko is actually putting in a pretty decent amount of work right here. Okay, so it looks like he's going to promote another Garbodor. Okay, he draws a Field Blower, so that could be good. He can get rid of this Rough Seas and Jolteon's Fighting Fury Belt if he decides to. Looks like he has 4 in the 4 items in the discard. Okay, so it looks like he might be considering retreating this Garbodor if he's putting down the Float Stone on it. He's going to attach a DCE to Tapu Lele, it looks like. Okay. That could be good since Tapu Lele actually can't be knocked out in one hit, so I think that's okay to do. Alrighty, so it's going to put this Tapu Koko looks like up to 140. We're going to see a Choice Band and a Versus Seeker for a Kukui, I'm guessing. Oh, okay. So, I may have spoke too soon. So normally Tapu Koko would not be able to knock out a Tapu Lele, but Choice Band bumps Sky High Claws up to 160. And then the Kukui bumps up to 180. So that was actually enough to knock out Tapu Lele. And here you can see Max is just... And, this Tapu Koko is probably going to go down soon, but nevertheless, he is in a pretty solid spot, I still think. So he's going to Field Blower, getting rid of the Stadium and the Fury Belt. He's going to play Choice Band on the Drampa, that seems good. Okay, so he does have to decide here, does he want to attach a Rainbow to Garbodor or to Drampa? But I think Garbodor actually would be able to take a knockout here, so we'll probably end up seeing the Rainbow get attached to it instead. Okay, so he's going to grab another Trubbish, And what I'd like to see from Chris here is actually an N. If he can take a knockout on this Tapu Koko, okay, and he is going to end. So if he can prevent Max from drawing into another Tapu Koko and an energy, he might be able to make a comeback in this game. So let's have to see what they each draw. I think this is Max's first Tapu Koko, so he should still have 3 more in the deck. Okay, here he's going to take a knockout. And Max top decks a Tapu Lele off an end of 1. Oh, absolutely insane. So here he's going to super odd Tapu Koko and some energy back into his deck, just to increase his odds. You can see Chris is like, are you kidding me? An end of 1 and you top deck this? Like, get out of here. So definitely got to be a little bit frustrating for Chris there. So, you know, Max is going to have the Sycamore, but he actually does not draw into what he needs. So here he's going to Max Elixir. I think it's a little dangerous Max Elixiring to the Tapu Lele. I'm not sure how many items he's played, but it looks like a good bit at this point. Well, I think he actually might be at the point where Trash Ranch would knock him out either way, so I guess at that point it doesn't matter too much. But here, Max is just going to retreat into Carbink, and so what does Chris have? So if he has a Lysander, he actually, I think, just wins, but I think, so he's checking his discard, he actually does not have one in there. Oh, that's got to be frustrating for him, because his deck is pretty thin at this point. You think he would have seen at least one of them by now. But nevertheless, you know, Max does not have what he needs currently, so he will be able to go down to 1 prize by knocking out this Carbink. So it's like he's debating benching the Trubbish. I don't know if he needs it or not, but I guess maybe there's no harm in it at this point. Here he's going to attach the Rainbow and put a damage counter on Trubbish, and he's going to play End yet again. So, you know, Max was able to draw out of it last time, but maybe this time he won't be as lucky. He did shuffle in some energy into his deck, so he could very well just draw, you know, an energy and another energy for turn, and Chris could come back and kind of sweep. Potentially, we'll have to see what happens, but this is definitely going to be a big top deck for Max. Okay, and it looks like he's just counting, but yeah, he is going to knock out that Carbink, and he top decks a Pokemon Fan Club. Absolutely insane. So it allows him to search his deck for 2 basic Pokemon. Here he's going to bench the Tapu Koko, you know, come into play, and then knock out Garbodor for the last prize. So Max is going to take the first game in the series. And so definitely a bit of an unfortunate one for Chris. I think he was doing all the right things, you know, ending his opponent down to a low hand size when he had the opportunity, but Max was just able to top deck out of it every time. So a little bit unfortunate for Chris, but we'll have to see what happens in this one. It is best 2 out of 3. So the one thing that made that game, I think, really close is, you know, not only all the ends and all that stuff, but Max was unable to set up his, like, lone Jolteon strategy he was working on. So, again, if he can just do that, I think he can kind of assure that he will take a game. Like, just setting up Jolteon and targeting down his opponents, like Trubbishes. I think he'll be in a good spot, but we'll have to see if he's able to do that. Okay, well, now that I think about it, Chris also does play the 2 Escape Rope, so if he does have like an additional Pokemon benched, that might take that play away from him, because Chris could do that Escape Rope Lysander play to nullify the effects of Flash Ray. But again, if he can start with just Jolteon and maybe knock out an Electrode and leave Jolteon as the only Pokemon in play, then I think the strategy would probably work. Okay, so Max did not have a basic, so he is going to reshuffle and try to give himself a new hand. I guess his deck was kind of clumped together, so he's just going to pile shuffle right here. So we'll have to see how this one goes. The only thing that could potentially backfire if Max does go the lone Jolteon strategy with an Electrode is that Drampa can actually knock off the energy that Electrode provides. So that could be a way Chris could counteract that scenario, but overall, I think that might be the way to go. We'll just have to see, though. But here, Max is going to mulligan yet again, which is kind of odd because he does play a decent amount of basics. I think it's like 4 Koko, 2 Voltorb, 1 Jolteon, 2 Shaman, 2 Lele, if I'm not mistaken. So a little unlucky there. I'd be very surprised if he mulligan again. Okay, so he's going to start with a Tapu Koko, it looks like. So he might not be able to go the lone Jolteon strategy because he's probably going to have to bench this Lele as well. But even still, he was in a great spot last game. We never saw the Garbotox and Garbodor come out, so he might be okay. Or at least safe from ability lock, I should say. Okay, so Chris is going to play his own Tapu Lele, and it looks like he's eyeing down a Pokemon Fan Club, which could be a good card to start the game with. I'm not sure what else he really needs this turn. I don't think I see a supporter for next turn, but he still does have Shaman in his hand, so I think he might be safe going for Fan Club. But at the same time, if he wanted to go for an N or something like that, that might be a little safer. But I like the Fan Club just to guarantee, setting up his board. So he's going to grab an additional Trubbish and a Drampa GX here. So that seems good. I think he does have DC in hand as well. Okay, the only thing I'm not seeing is a Team Magma Secret Base. That would be the only other thing I think Chris would really want to get down. Okay, it looks like he's actually opting to power up Tapu Lele. Interesting. So here he's going to Lele grab his own Fan Club, and we'll probably see a Voltorb and a Jolteon if I were going to guess. Okay, it might be Prize actually. I am not seeing it when I was getting to look through his deck. So, that whole 2 minutes I spent talking about it might be for nothing. Let's see. I mean, he could go double Electrode, I guess, or double Voltorb, but I think I like this play better. Because ideally with this Tapu Koko deck, you want to force your opponent to be at an odd number of prizes. And if you have to knock out an Electrode going down, putting your opponent at odd prizes, having another Voltorb sit on your bench to go down to an even amount of prizes with would not be optimal. But here he's going to Field Blower the Choice Band, or I'm sorry, the Float Stone, and just pass, it looks like. Okay, he's going to put down an additional Float Stone. And see, we see a Choice Band in hand. Okay, I'd imagine we'll see an Energy Attachment and probably a Shaman to draw some additional cards. Okay, so I like this, putting the double Carlos on the Drampa, because now that makes it so that the Drampa is 1 energy away from attacking, but also if Chris decides to switch gears and go for a Garbodor play, it's also 1 energy away from attacking as well. So I definitely like that. He's going to Ultra Ball away a Super Odd and a Rescue Stretcher, so that's not what you really want to see, I think, but I'm not sure Chris's count as far as recovery cards in his deck, but I think most decks only play on average 2. I've seen some Garbodor lists pop up playing 3, so maybe he is playing 3 recovery cards. But we'll have to see if that makes a difference in the late game. But here, Chris is going to bring up Tapu Lele and attack for 90, I believe it is. Okay, so Max is going to... Oh my god, so he's going to Rough Seize and then play Pokemon Center Lady to heal off all of that damage that Chris just did, so... I mean, luckily for Chris, Max did not have a very eventful turn other than that, but it basically bought him a turn to set up a little bit more. Okay, the only downside is Chris does not have a great hand to work with currently. He just has a bunch of energy and I believe a Field Blower. So here he's just going to, attack this Tapu Lele, or I'm sorry, this Tapu Koko yet again, doing 90, but then the Rough Seas will heal it down to 60. So it looks like Max is going to Max Elixir, no pun intended, and then just Sycamore Okay, he's going to get a Lightning Energy in play. Also going to bench a new Tapu Koko just to get a fresh one. Here he has a Parallel City. That's interesting. So here he's going to... Okay, he's going to face it towards his opponent. The only thing I don't like about that is I maybe would have preferred to face it towards himself. That way he could discard his Shaman he has in play. But the only bad thing about that is then he wouldn't be able to put down like another Tapu Koko to use Arrow Tail. But we'll see what happens here. Okay, so here Drampa's going to do 150. Unfortunately, he did not have the choice band he needed to take a knockout, which is very unfortunate. But here, Max is going to bench a Jolteon. He's going to get rid of a Kukui and an Ultra Ball. So actually, if Max is able to get a choice band this turn, that would actually be good as well, because then he could potentially Kukui and choice band to knock out this Drampa, but I don't even know if he has the means to do that. So here it looks like he's just going to Sycamore instead. Oh, no, it's a Max Elixir, my mistake. Okay, now he's going to Sycamore. Okay, unfortunately he does have a full bench, so he's not able to bench the Tapu Koko he has. Oh, okay, but here he can knock out his Electrode. I like this play. It's going to give Chris a prize, but now he's free to bench a new Tapu Koko to use Arrow Trail to come in and do some more damage that way. And here he can actually use Tapu Thunder GX to take a knockout. Oh, I guess he decided not to? Or maybe he already did, and I didn't notice. Yeah, I guess he did, because he did knock out the Tapu Lele already, so that would make sense. My apologies, guys. And Chris does actually have a Tapu Lele of his own, so he'll be able to jump back into the game. I know he had a kind of a dead hand for a few turns, so maybe grabbing an N, putting Max at a lower hand size. Yep, that seems good. Let's see what he decides to do. He does have a Field Blower he could play to bounce the Stadium. And I kind of like the idea of doing that. That way, if he does grab a Choice Band off of this N, he will be able to take a knockout on this Tapu Koko. And I'm not sure how many items Max has gone through, but he actually has been playing a decent amount, so Garbodor could potentially also knock out this Drampa as well, or this Tapu Koko. Okay, and he actually does grab the Choice Band, so he will be able to take a knockout for sure. Okay, so he's going to take a knockout, like I said. Max is going to promote this Jolteon. And he's going to N, I think that is. Yeah, since both players are shuffling up, that seems okay to me. Okay, so it's going to put Chris at 3, and Max is going to get himself, I believe 4. It's hard for me to see his prize count, but I think he's just knocked out the Lele and Drampa. So let's see, what does he have here? Okay, he is going to knock out this Drampa, and you know, but like I said, he's played a decent amount of items, so this Garbodor might actually be able to just knock him out. Here Chris is searching through his deck, I believe that is. Or no, I think that's his discard pile, okay. And it looks like he's going to Ultra Ball a Magma Base and a Rainbow Energy. So let's see what he's going to be eyeing now. He's going to get himself a Garbodor. And so all he needs is 8 items in the discard pile, and he will be able to take a knockout with Trash Lance just because it does 20 times the number of items in your opponent's discard pile. And here we're going to see, it looks like an N from Chris. So both players ending very furiously here. You know, whenever their opponent takes a big 2-hit or 2-prize knockout, they're doing the right thing, putting their opponent at a lower hand size. And let's see what happens here. The only thing is, well, I'm just not sure what's going to happen here because I can't tell how many items are in Max's discard, but it looks like... Oh, I thought he was about to discard Jolteon. So it looks like Chris is thinking hard about something here. And, okay, so apparently he's only doing 120. I thought there was more in the discard pile than that. But I think that's actually very important because now Max can just knock out 2 Garbodors back to back here. He's going to shuffle in, looks like, a Tapu Koko and 2 energy. That seems great to me. And does he have a supporter? And he has Versus Seeker for a Sycamore. Chris has got to be sick of this by now, I'd imagine. You know, he keeps doing the right thing whenever Max is taking knockouts. He's putting him down at a low hand size, but Max is just, his deck's too consistent, I guess. I don't know. But here he's going to bench this Tapu Koko. That way he can attack with a fresh one instead. And he's going to do Aether Paradise Conservation Area just to reduce the damage done to his Koko as well. But here's going to take a knockout. And unfortunately for Chris, I feel like that's checkmate because, you know, I believe Max is only at 1 prize. And even if Garbodor comes up and takes a big one-hit knockout, he still does have an additional Tapu Koko GX with that Electrode attached on the bench. So unfortunately for Chris, I just don't see an out in this particular matchup. I think Max has it pretty much locked up. You know, maybe there's something in his deck that I don't know about, but just looking at the current board state, I think it's safe to assume that Chris, you know, probably does not have this one. I mean, so he can bump his stadium at the very least, so he can get rid of that conservation area. He can play Escape Rope, but even still, he's just going to put this Lele, and Max can just retreat Lele for 1 energy and take a knockout if need be. Here he can retreat, and does he have the Lysander? Because I don't believe Tapu Koko can actually take a knockout here. But either way, I think it's fine. Okay, so Chris is going to end Max down to 1, but I think he's just kind of delaying the inevitable, because like I said, even if a Tapu Koko gets knocked out, he can bring up another one to take his last prize. Okay, and Max draws a Shaman. Oh my god. Oh, that's hilarious. I don't think there's been a single time that Chris has end Max into a dead hand. And here it looks like he has an Ultra Ball in hand, so he can maybe grab himself a Shaman to draw some more cards, but I just don't know what he's really looking for at this point in the game. Okay, so he's going to Ultra Ball, so like I said, we'll probably see a Shaman come down, because I think he's only played 1 at this point. So it does look like what he's eyeing down, but looking through his deck as he's searching, again, I'm just not sure what he could be going for here. You know, like I said, he can potentially just take a knockout going down to 1 prize, but unfortunately it won't be enough, I don't think. Okay, so he's going to put 2 damage counters on the Shaman because of the Magma base. And yeah, I see some supporters. I see a DCE. But yeah, unfortunately he does not have an out in this game. But he's going to attach another DCE. He's going to go down swinging at the least, I think. And you know, he has a Verse Seeker. He could Lysander something up probably, but here I think they're just discussing. There's not really much of a way out. And yep, so Max is going to take the series 2-0, but like I said at the beginning of the video, Max actually did concede since he is not going for any championship points or World's Invite. So we will actually be seeing Chris in the finals, so stick around to see that one. We'll have that one posted shortly. But as usual, guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our merchandise over at rarecandytcg.com. If you can pick up something to support the channel, it'd mean a lot to us. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.